Section 2, Kanban and Lean, optimize your DevOps processes. In this section, we're going to learn what the difference is between Kanban and Lean. We're also going to look at how you can create your own Kanban board, and then we're going to go into advanced configuration settings for your Kanban. What is Kanban and Lean? In this video, I'm going to show you how Kanban and Lean can help you optimize your DevOps processes, and then we're going to look at some of the tooling that will make this possible. So what is Kanban? Well, it's the ability to visualize the workflow, establish some kind of work in progress limit, measure throughput, and continuously improve the process. To the right hand side is the Wikipedia definition of Kanban. So let's just go through some of the basics of Kanban and how they can potentially apply to your Team Foundation server or Visual Studio Team Service instance. So first of all, later on in the chapters, we're going to cover how you can change the flow, but let's just have a look at the standard flow of an agile story. So this goes from new to active to resolved and then completed, as long as the acceptance testing has been complete. The second stage is setting some kind of work in progress limit. So as you can see from the diagram in the middle, the flow on analyze is 11 out of 8, which is over the WIP constraint. We can also add plugins from the marketplace that will allow you to actually see whereabouts the constraints are, whether that's team-based or within a particular swim lane. And finally is our ability to measure and monitor and fine-tune based on the cumulative flow. Again, this is something that you can see in real time. Let's have a look at setting some work in progress limits and how they will differ and the value of what they will bring in how a traditional project may be delivered. So let's take two separate teams. The top team is not using WIP limits. The bottom team is using WIP limits. At the start, the bottom team limit themselves to 3 in-progress activities, whereas the team on the top don't. So the first week goes past, and what we see is that the first team, which doesn't have any WIP limits, is working on a huge amount of stories simultaneously, whereas the team that are using WIP limits have completed feature A and have started working on feature B, taking the kind of lean approach to implementing not just what the easy tasks are or what they want to work on, but actually what's the most highest value feature to the business. So this is using business value. So we've now got 3 work items, but we've got a completed feature, whereas the top, we have no completed features, and we've got a huge amount of work, different features, all being implemented at the same time. So what happens when it gets the 10th day? So this is traditionally when people do set their 2-week sprints. If we look at what the top team's done, they've managed to deliver E, but E's the least valuable item based on priority, and they're still halfway through most of the other activities. And some are done, some bits aren't. So this is a real problem. How can you measure the value of what's been delivered here? Equally, because of the 2-week sprints, they've obviously not completed their work. So therefore, things are going to have to roll over into another sprint. So the estimation's kind of gone wrong. Now let's have a look at the Kanban approach, where actually they've managed to deliver that feature, which they delivered in the first week, and they're nearly completed the second high value feature. And in this case, there is no 2-week stop, so they'll continue down until they've delivered everything of value all the way down the feature list. So what do we do to measure this? And that way kind of give us an idea, or even use prediction, which is available in the Team Foundation server on-premise version of 2018. How do we look at predicting based on what we're doing, what we can potentially achieve and what we can't? So let's just have a look at the cumulative flow on the right hand side. So the top line signifies what is still required to do, and the stuff at the bottom is done. So as the departure curve continues, you can see the lead time and how behind you are, plus how much more you've still got to do. This gives you a bit of a good estimate of when these two are going to join, or if any issues are starting to block. So let's just touch on lean. We can't go into lean in too much detail, and I'd recommend that you look at the lean articles on the MSDN documentation. Lean is incredibly powerful, and lean engineering and lean things like UX, so lean user experience, are all the norm now in large scale organizations that are looking at doing innovation labs and also optimizing their processes as far as their software development lifecycle pipeline. So let's just take another simple example. Part of having Kanban in the lean context is looking at how you potentially have different roles, different types of artifacts, some of those which we've already explored, and also events. Events are anything from retrospectives to sprint planning, and they happen a number of times in a predefined period of time. So part of the lean concept and how you would potentially look at applying that, so that's reducing the waste, just-in-time delivery, avoiding overburn, because you can't sprint all the time. So let's have a look. First of all, we want to visualize the workflow, so that way we get a better understanding of where we are. We covered the WIP about limiting work in progress, delivering the most value into the business first. We've talked about managing the flow and how to improve that. And then also, part of this is a collaborative process. So let's take this right in an example taken from the book below. Typically, most organizations will be based on this 2-week sprint. And then what I'm seeing in some organizations is then use week 3 as an integration week with all the other teams. So therefore, in this simple example where 6 teams are working simultaneously in some kind of scrums, as you can see, different teams are working on different items in week 3. Now let's look at this in a way of applying lean instead of waiting 2 weeks and then doing an integration sprint. In this case, teams are delivering value whenever it's available. And those teams then can work on the next item. So in this case, they're using the Kanban to continuously deliver value, which could be over a large period of time or a short period of time, depending on the size of the feature they're implementing. And then the integration and the work and the dependency is done by the other teams when that's delivered. So there's a cross-functional dependency of multiple teams, and they're reducing waste by waiting for the end of the 2 weeks, just in time. And it's also, the teams are working on what they can work for a period of time, and obviously limiting what they can do within a certain size of item. So in the next video, we're going to actually show you how you can actually implement this using Visual Studio Team Services or Team Foundation Server